Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome, everyone, to this deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're zoning in on something really specific, maybe even a bit strange, from the 1122 King Road investigation.
The front door.
Exactly, the front door. We want to tackle the question, why on earth was it found wide open the morning after?
And just to be clear for everyone listening, our focus today is strictly on the ideas and theories presented in that YouTube transcript you sent over.
Right. That transcript is our guide for this discussion, nothing else.
Got it.
So let's start with the basic fact, the observation right there in your material. A neighbor.
A neighbor stated that the front door at 1122 King Road was found wide open.
And the timing was 8:30 a.m. the morning after the murders.
Right. And crucially, like you said, not just unlocked, but wide open. That specific description seems important in the source material.
Yeah, the transcript really flags that. And it also mentions this isn't some new detail people just noticed.
No, apparently it was being chewed over on places like Reddit, even, 2 years before the video was made?
So it's a persistent question, something that's bothered people for a while.
Definitely. And again, that distinction the source makes is key. Unlocked versus wide open. They feel different, imply different things.
So the source material looks at an initial idea, one it apparently found in an older Reddit comment.
Yeah, sort of a common sense thought, maybe. In a house with lots of roommates, people coming and going, maybe some drinking.
Locking the door isn't always the top priority. Maybe someone feels a bit unsafe trying to fumble with keys if they're impaired.
Exactly. That kind of logic. You could see how a door might end up unlocked in that environment.
Makes sense. But the person in the video, the source creator, they weren't buying it.
Not entirely. They pushed back, arguing, okay, that might explain an unlocked door, sure.
But not wide open.
Right. That specific state, wide open, feels, to the source creator at least, like it needs a more specific explanation than just casual oversight.
Okay, so if that casual theory doesn't quite cut it according to the source, what's the first major possibility they explore?
Theory 1. The perpetrator, or maybe perpetrators, left through the front door.
And they were in such a rush.
Such a hurry to get out of there that they just didn't bother closing it. They fled and left it open behind them. Simple as that, potentially.
And the transcript connects this idea to something else, doesn't it?
It does. It links it to the observation that a car was seen driving away from the area at pace.
That pace, which the source interprets how?
As, speeding, driving fast, indicating someone was desperate to leave the scene quickly.
So a hurried exit from the house, leaving the door open, followed by a speedy getaway in a car. It fits together.
It seems plausible on the surface, yeah.
But then the source itself points out a potential wrinkle, a complication.
Right. This is where Dylan Mortenson's account comes in, as mentioned in the transcript. She reported seeing someone.
And the key detail from her account, highlighted in the source.
That the person she saw was walking past her, and seemed apparently calm, not sprinting, not visibly panicked or rushing.
Okay, so that does clash a bit, doesn't it?
It seems to, yeah. The source notes this tension. How do you reconcile someone calmly walking out with the idea of someone leaving in such a frantic hurry they can't even pull the door shut, and then speeding off?
It's a contradiction, the source flags.
Definitely. The transcript also briefly mentions another potential piece related to a front door exit, the idea of blood possibly found on a handrail.
Which could fit with someone leaving that way.
Could, yeah.
Yeah.
Though the source doesn't dwell on it heavily, it also gives a quick nod to theories about multiple attackers using different doors, maybe front and back.
But the main thrust in your source material stays focused on why that front door was specifically wide open.
Exactly. Which leads us to the second main theory the video creator puts forward.
And this one sounds quite different.
It is. The source suggests this is maybe even more likely in the creator's view. The theory is that the survivors inside the house opened the front door themselves.
The survivors. But hours after the event.
Yes. That's the proposal. Hours later. The reasoning laid out in the transcript goes something like this. The survivors knew what had happened. They were aware of the scene, the victims.
And crucially, there was that long gap, right? The time between the murders and the 911 call.
A very significant delay, which the source emphasizes.
Okay, so if the survivors opened the door hours later, what would be the motive, according to this theory in the source?
The motive proposed is Well, it's quite stark. The idea is they deliberately left the door wide open, hoping someone else would notice it.
Someone else. Like a neighbor or just anyone passing by?
Yeah, hoping someone would see the open door, think it was odd, maybe go inside to check.
And then that person would discover the scene and call 911.
Exactly. Allowing the survivors, according to this theory from the source, to potentially feign ignorance, to say, whoa, we had no idea this happened.
Thereby avoiding questions about why they didn't call for help much, much earlier.
That seems to be the core of the motive presented in the source material for this theory.
And the transcript suggests how this played out.
Well, the source concludes that when hours went by, apparently even approaching lunchtime, the transcript notes that nobody stumbled upon the scene via the open door.
The plan, if it was a plan, didn't work.
Right. So the source suggests they were left with, quote, no choice but to finally make the 911 call themselves.
And at that point, they'd have to act as if they were just then discovering the situation.
That's the implication drawn in the source material, yes.
Yeah.
Making it look like they didn't know.
Wow. Okay. So just to recap the main thrust of the analysis in the material you shared, 2 core theories for the wide open door.
Pretty much. Theory 1. The killer or killers fled in a panic, left it open in their haste, then sped off.
Or theory 2. The survivors deliberately opened it hours later, hoping for an outside discovery to mask their own delay in reporting.
Those are the 2 main possibilities the source creator seems to land on as most plausible, based on the reasoning presented in the transcript.
It's really...
Absolutely. Each explanation paints a vastly different picture of the events of that night and, crucially, the hours that followed. The source really uses it as a pivot point.
It really forces you, the listener, to think about the sequence of events, the timing, the potential psychology involved, all based on that one observation discussed in the transcript.
Mm-hmm.
So, based purely on the analysis we've discussed today from your source material, here's something for you to consider. Does that wide open front door feel more like a forgotten detail in a killer's panicked escape?
Or does it feel more like a calculated signal, intentionally set by those who remained inside the house?